Hey everyone, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to do a movie review on The Five Bloods. So, The Five Bloods is the latest Spike Lee joint, and it is released earlier this year, but I never really got around to check it out because I thought, given that it's polarizing, I thought there would be some aspect to the movie that would turn me off, so I didn't really watch it or anything until last night. I saw it, and it was actually way better than I had expected. So, The Five Bloods. I thought this is going to be a movie about black soldiers during the Vietnam War in the early 70s, but I was wrong. I didn't see the trailer before watching the movie or anything, but this movie is actually about four Vietnam vets in present day. They go back to Vietnam to find their comrade's body, and the comrade is played by Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. And they also wanted to find some gold that they left behind during the war because they promised each other that they would come back for the gold and hide the gold from the American government because they themselves deserve it themselves. So that's basically the plot, but of course things complicate, things get messy, things get dangerous. Going into the movie, I wasn't really expecting a guns blazing, bombs exploding action thriller movie, but that doesn't really take away from my enjoyment towards the movie. And I think with this very crazy, violent, actiony drama plot that Spike Lee is working on, it is both accessible but also easier for Spike Lee to spread his message. And yeah, of course, this movie is not perfect. There are a couple elements in the movie that I thought could need some work. First of all, the dialogues, they're not terrible, but they could be written better. Given that it's Spike Lee, I was really expecting some good ass dialogue, but the dialogues in this movie, they are a little bit explanatory, a little bit exposition here and there, and they're really not that great. And we also have the directing style, which is not terrible by any means, not bad at all. But again, given that it's Spike Lee, I thought I would be seeing something that's more well directed. But this one just seems pretty normally directed. But other than that, we constantly jumps back and forth, especially in the first half of the movie, where we go from the present day, which is the main timeline, and flashbacks of the 70s when they were fighting in Vietnam with Chadwick Boseman's character, Norman. And the aspect ratio would change. And for some people, it may be very annoying, but for me, it wasn't all that annoying. It kind of worked out. In fact, the modern day is the average cinematic scope ratio, and then back in the 70s, it's 4:3 ratio, and the camera is grainier. It feels as though the quality of the footage is just lower. It's like they shot this on a 16 millimeter. And yeah, from time to time, it's a very Spike Lee thing, but from time to time, when characters talk about certain things, Spike Lee would straight up put a photo of a person that they're talking about, or a photo of someone that's related, onto the screen, or a video footage. And given that this movie is very heavily about the Vietnam War, there's a lot of archive footage of actual deaths being shown on screen. And yes, if you haven't seen the movie, I give you a warning, a very strong warning, because you're going to see some really graphic violence shown through these archive footage and images. And oh my god, they just burn into your brain. It's one thing to tell people, oh my god, the Vietnam War, a lot of people are dying, a lot of innocent children and women and people in general are dying, and there's a lot of unnecessary violence going on. That's one thing. And then showing actual footage and photos of these deaths and injuries is another thing. It really conveys the message very strongly and in your face. This movie is also incredibly emotionally impactful. There are multiple scenes in the movie that really hit me emotionally, especially towards the end when one of the characters sort of interact with a ghost of Norman and they hug each other and forgive each other. That scene almost brought a tear to my eye. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the older I get, the more I'm prone to these emotional movie moments, and maybe it's because I have more experience in real life. But still, that is a really, really, really emotional moment for me. And then another scene in the middle of the movie, the landmine scene, is easily one of the most suspenseful and intense scenes I've seen in a movie this year. I totally did not expect a scene this suspenseful and intense would show up in the Five Bloods. But here we are. This is more, and I'm not saying that, there aren't any suspenseful and intense movies in 2020. There is, but this particular scene, is more suspenseful and intense than any other movies I've seen in the year, including, friggin' Tenet. And that, wow, man, my heart was racing in that scene. My heart was racing. This movie also did a really good job making us care about these characters. I mean, we see them interact, we see them as Vietnam vets, and yes, they have conflicting ideologies, but they're still comrades. They still help each other and support each other. And yeah, so of course, whenever one of the characters are in trouble, we would be very, very, very concerned. At the end of the day, I first of all, Delroy Lindo's performance, amazing, absolutely amazing. His performance in this film is definitely Oscar worthy. And I would even like to see him win one, honestly, because this is the performance of his lifetime. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest takeaway I have from this movie is its anti-war message. Marvin Gaye's music is constantly being used all over this film, and yeah, war is hell. Why hate each other when we can love and accept one another? That's what Marvin Gaye said. That's what Norman said before he passed away. And the characters, some certain characters, including Paul, who's played by Delroy Lindo, he's walking on the path of hate ever since the Vietnam War, and he has never left that path of hate. And seeing all these casualties and all these side effects of hatred itself is just really tragic. This movie is more like, why are we even fighting? Why are all these people dying? It's so unnecessary. We can live together in peace than it is just some heroes versus some villains. And I think this message is really well conveyed in this movie. So I mean, sure, musically there are some moments in the movie that just didn't quite sit right with me, like the way they played Ride of the Valkyries in one of the scenes, which is really confusing. And there are some scenes where it almost feels as though Spike Lee has something special, whether it be, a special camera movement or a special style, just in general, but it never really went there. But still, this movie is way better than I thought it is, and it's really emotionally impactful. It really sticks in my brain, and it's way better than I thought it is. I'm saying The Five Bloods is a movie worth watching, and I'm giving it a decent 8 out of 10. So, have you watched Spike Lee's The Five Bloods from 1 to 10? I'm gonna just rate it, like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. I want to watch more 2020 movies, but a lot of them aren't available to me yet. Of course, I think I can watch Mank and Fireball, which is a Werner Herzog documentary. But other than these two movies, I really want to watch Nomadland, One Night in Miami, Wolfwalkers, Pieces of a Woman, Another Round,